Jake Paul.
Jake's the really good
Tell
boxer.
me about that, because I saw that reported and I got super interested in it, but I haven't looked into it since.
I'm fascinating because it's going to happen and there's nothing I can do to stop it from happening. As a person who understands combat sports, this guy's very skilled. He's very skilled. He's a very elite boxer. Like, I'm watching the combinations he throws, his movement, the way he steps and sets up shots, the way he's countering. He's a very high-level boxer. He's a real professional caliber boxer. And he's knocked a bunch of former MMA champions unconscious. Wow.
One thing he doesn't want to do is fight Mike.
No.
Yeah, he wants to fight Mike, I think.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't give a if he's 55. That's still Mike Tyson. If Jake Paul's on the other side of the ring and he sees Mike Tyson just bobbing and weaving, he's going to have a recognition.
Yeah.
He's going to look over and go, oh my God, that's really Mike Tyson.
So recently, Joe Rogan's perspective on the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson bout has taken a sharp U-turn. Last year, during a chat with Ric Flair on his podcast, Rogan highlighted Tyson's enduring prowess despite his advancing age, right? Fast forward to now, and Rogan has been vocal about Jake Paul's boxing finesse. Let's delve into the shift in opinion. Rogan's latest comments paint Jake Paul in a professional light, noting his boxing abilities with admiration. The shift in Rogan's stance raises eyebrows, particularly because he's known to be close to Iron Mike, yet hasn't gone on to feature Jake Paul on his podcast to date. The build-up leading to the fight might just bring both fighters to Rogan's platform to offer further insight, but for now, the change in tone is unmistakable as Rogan now expresses concern for Tyson's well-being against a younger opponent like Jake Paul.
It's going to happen. There's nothing I can do to stop it from happening.
Do you want to stop it from
I
happening?
do not necessarily think it's a good idea for 57-year-old men to be fighting 27-year-old men.
Updates on the fight's approval status reveal an intriguing twist. The battle, although hyped and scheduled at the AT&T Stadium, still awaits the nod from the Texas board. This limbo raises questions about Tyson's health and safety, given the significant age gap between the two fighters.
Fight must still be approved. Oh, interesting.
It's only been announced on the calendar for the AT&T Stadium.
Interesting.
They've not been approved by the Texas board.
Interesting. Well, there's probably going to be a lot of pressure for them to not approve it, just based on his age. The age gap is 30 years, which is just wild.
Rogan's earlier comments last year depicted Jake as the underdog against the legendary Mike Tyson. Yet, as the fight becomes a reality, Rogan's tune is changing, emphasizing Paul's prowess in the ring. This next segment shows just that.
A 27-year-old me fought a 57-year-old Mike Tyson. Yeah, he'd beat the fucking shit out of me. It would be quick. But a 27-year-old Jake Paul, who can box and has very good power, and he's very fast, and he's young. First of all, he's got one-punch knockout power, which is odd. It's an odd thing to have. Not everybody gets it. So you could go like some of the greats, like Julio Cesar Chavez, one of the greatest of all time, did not have one-punch knockout power. He's a good boxer. Like, he's fought very good boxers, and he's knocked out a lot of former MMA stars. Including like Tyron Woodley, who's one of the greatest welterweights of all time, and he flatlined him. He's really good. And if he wasn't Jake Paul, the YouTube guy, just this wild kid coming up in the middleweight ranks or the light heavyweight rank, you would go, holy shit, look at this guy. This guy's fun. He's wild. He wears all this flashy jewelry. He's got crazy tattoos everywhere, and he knocks people unconscious. And he's knocked a bunch of former MMA champions unconscious. Wow. Knocked Ben Askren unconscious, which is, Ben Askren was not really a striker, but Nate Simmons, that basketball player, did you see that fight?
No.
Oh my God, dude. This is when I was telling people, I'm like, hey man, he can fight. Like really fight. I know Nate is a basketball player and he's like really athletic and probably out of his element in a boxing match, but he took it because he really believes in himself. Watch what he does, the way he does it, the way he lands these shots. These are real punches, that like elite caliber of technique. I'm like, he's got the thing.
Now, while Rogan's recent takes might raise some eyebrows, it's essential to recognize his significant contributions to MMA and the UFC. His enthusiasm and hyperbolic style have been a staple in promoting the sport, but there have been instances where his predictions or assessments, like the case with Rhonda Rousey, didn't align with subsequent events.
I'm not happy that Rhonda Rousey lost, but in a way, it makes things easier because there was a bunch of people that were going, oh yeah? What about Rhonda Rousey? She'll kick in. And I made the mistake of saying, like, hyperbole. Okay, I'm the master of hyperbole. I exaggerate all the time. I was like, she could probably beat half the men bantamweights in the UFC.
Is that true?
No, it's not definitely not true. Shouldn't have said it at the time. Now it's definitely not true. She could beat a few that aren't good outside the sport. Look, if she gets guys in the ground, she could f a lot of people up. Her judo is 100% legit. Her arm bars are amongst the best in the business. But, and then the argument is, well, who she lost to? Who fucked her up the most? A lesbian. I mean,
yeah.
Jesus.
So Rogan indeed admitted to overstating Ronda Rousey's capabilities, and in a similar vein, his reasoning behind Jake Paul's boxing skills seems somewhat exaggerated. Rogan praises Paul as an elite boxer, primarily for defeating MMA fighters without significant boxing experience. Tyron Woodley, for example, is a noted NCAA Division I wrestler, not a boxer. Ben Askren, another of Paul's opponents, is known for his weaker striking in MMA. Furthermore, Rogan's example of Paul's fight against Nate Robinson is hardly a testament to elite boxing. After all, Robinson was more a basketball player than a boxer. Here's a critical observation. Training to be a boxer, mastering footwork, coordination, and punch selection does enhance one's skills. It's possible to appear impressive in training and even look competent against lesser-known boxers. However, the real test comes when facing a true elite boxer. Some argue even Tommy Fury, Paul's toughest opponent to date, doesn't fit this elite category at all. When confronted with top-tier boxing talent, all the polished techniques can falter under the pressure and experience of a seasoned professional. This gap in experience and skill becomes especially evident when imagining Paul facing someone like Canelo Alvarez at his peak. Not decades later, the difference in levels would likely be night and day. There's a distinct challenge in facing an opponent who knows exactly how to apply pressure, maneuver into advantageous positions, and exploit weaknesses, something Rogan seemed to acknowledge back in 2023 when Jake Paul first challenged Mike
What he doesn't
Tyson.
want to do is fight Mike.
No.
He wants to fight Mike, I think.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't give a if he's 55. That's still Mike Tyson.
Mike's in good shape, too.
Oh, my God.
Mike trains every day.
He trains with Rafael Cordero, who's a legend in MMA. He runs King's mixed martial arts.
Yeah, Mike-
that guy can still f you up.
He don't want to fight Mike.
In this world with hormone replacement and vitamins and I don't give a if you think he's 55 years old. That guy will hurt you.
Yeah.
If Jake Paul's on the other side of the ring and he sees Mike Tyson just bobbing and weaving, he's going to have a recognition.
Yeah.
He's going to look over and go, oh my God, that's really Mike Tyson.
Rogan, having significantly hyped up Jake Paul, also concedes that Mike Tyson could be a formidable opponent under the right circumstances. He suggests that with the aid of contemporary science, conditioning, and recovery methods, Tyson could effectively prepare his body for the fight. Despite Tyson's age, he'll be 58 at the time of the bout. Rogan believes these modern techniques could optimize Tyson's physical condition. This preparation could potentially turn the tide in Tyson's favor, posing a real challenge to Paul in the ring.
Tyson is such a genetic freak that his 57 may not have declined from his prime as much as a normal person.
Yes, and science. It's not 57 in the Jack Johnson days. We're talking about 57 in the days of biological engineering. You're able to do all kinds of stuff with its human growth hormone levels, with the use of peptides, with the use of testosterone. A 57-year-old today that's on hormone replacement and you're eating well and taking a lot of vitamins and creatine, and you're using all these strategies like red light therapy and saunas and cold plunge. It could be one of those fights where Mike Tyson gets him in a corner and connects with a punch, and Jake Paul just goes limp.
But then there's a concerning aspect related to Tyson's physical condition, especially his sciatica, which has previously impacted his mobility to the extent of needing a walking stick and occasionally a wheelchair. Rogan has pointed out how the rigorous preparation for a fight could potentially exacerbate this issue, leading to a flare-up of the condition. This aspect of Tyson's health is contributing to the growing skepticism about his ability to compete effectively in the ring, especially considering the demands of a high-profile
The
fight.
thing is, can he close the gap? Can he move?
As a quickness point.
He has problems with his back. He's had sciatic problems to the point where a year or so ago he was walking with a cane. Your nerves are getting pushed. So something's pushing on your nerves. It could be a bulging disc. It could be a bunch of different things, but that's an issue. It's a real issue that can become chronic, especially when you're going through a long and intensive training camp like he's going through now up to July
Rogan's
20.
take on this fight seemed inconsistent, especially in the way he's been overemphasizing Jake Paul's ability. It seems evident that Jake and his brother Logan have significant control over their fights and the public image. Given the extent of this influence, it wouldn't be surprising if they have some form of promotional agreement with Rogan. Who knows? Perhaps to enhance the fight's appeal. The exact terms of Tyson and Paul's contract remain unknown, raising questions about any potential limitations imposed on Tyson to ensure the fight lasts longer. If this weren't an exhibition and Tyson was at liberty to fully exert his prowess, the outcome would likely be swift and decisive in Tyson's favor. Jake Paul, despite being younger, lacks the depth of training and experience to withstand a seasoned former heavyweight champion. Observing Paul's past knockouts, some seem questionably staged. This brings to mind how Floyd Mayweather appeared to manage the pacing of his fight with Logan Paul, suggesting contractual conditions like no knockout clause. Such an agreement is plausible for the Tyson-Paul fight as well, particularly given the stark difference in boxing proficiency between Jake and his brother Logan. Jake's access to resources, owning a gym, and his wealth puts him in a unique position compared to most boxers with limited experience. These advantages could feasibly allow him to prepare sufficiently for a lasting match, especially if Tyson is also contractually incentivized to prolong the fight, maximizing its entertainment value and perceived worth for viewers. It's worth noting Tyson's history, especially towards the end of his professional career, where he lost 3 of his last 4 fights, 2 by knockout. Now, these defeats were against elite boxers, highlighting the contrasting caliber of opponents between Paul and Tyson. Rogan, with his extensive experience in combat sports, should perhaps provide a more balanced view of the fight. He's been part of the MMA world for decades, yet his portrayal of this event seems to overlook the exhibition nature of the fight and the Paul brothers' history of orchestrating highly controlled bouts. His portrayal of Jake Paul as an elite fighter doesn't fully align with the broader perspective of the fight and the dynamics of stage combat sports events. So as we approach this highly anticipated fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, it's important to view it through a lens of realism and skepticism. While the hype surrounding the event is undeniable, largely fueled by figures like Joe Rogan, we must remember the nature of exhibition fights and the strategic orchestration behind them. The clash of generations, the glitz of celebrity boxing, and the narratives spun by the media all contribute to the spectacle. But at the heart of it, this event is as much about entertainment as it is about sport. As viewers and fans, our excitement should be tempered with an understanding of the theatre inherent in such matchups. Let's watch it, let's enjoy it, but also remain discerning of the spectacle before us. This fight, like many in the world of celebrity boxing, is a blend of sport, showmanship, and business strategy. Leave your thoughts, comments, and opinions down low, and I'll catch you in the next one.